Hello, this is Dr. Bol Jock with the Jikmir Developmental Model. Today, I want to talk about Jikmir in respect to Agile Philosophy. And Agile Philosophy is basically saying instead of relying on a bureaucratic way of structuring an organization, you can structure an organization to where it is responsive to change. It can change rather quickly. It's agile, which is agility comes from agile, being flexible with change. And many organizations are going toward that right now because we're realizing that technological advances are making businesses or even governmental organization to become very agile, so they could be able to maneuver when technology change or when a current situation change, they can be able to respond to change. So, how does the agile mindset align with the Jikmir development model? That's what I want to talk about today. The history of agile or agile philosophy came about with the software engineers. It started with software engineers, programmers, because they were facing a lot of problem of developing softwares that are very rigid, then realizing the customer do not want those, or they're not meeting the customer satisfaction. So they went and sat down and was like, we got to come up with a philosophy that can allow us to both receive constant feedback and remain flexible as we develop these softwares. So these software engineers sat down, have a conference, and develop philosophies, values, and principles for agile mindset or agile philosophy. And even though that mindset started at the software industry or computer science industry, it is being adopted across many organizations because many organizations are realizing that being responsive to change is very important, especially with technological changes that are happening so fast. Organizations that are responding to those changes find themselves at a very good place versus those that do not respond to change. So even though it is started at the software industry with software engineers, now is moving to many organizations. How does the agile mindset align with the Jikmir development model? That's what I want to talk about today. So with the Jikmir developmental model, it aligns with agile philosophy like this. First, it focuses on the bottom-up approach to the development and administration, which means it is responsive to customer feedback. You could say customer, but at this point it would be at the grassroots level personnel. So it is responsive to the local feedback, right? Versus if you focus on the central government of South Sudan, then you're not reaching down to the very level that you need to hear the voice of. So that's the first thing. The Jikmir development model focus on the bottom-up approach rather than top-down approach to administration and development. So which means it's making it more responsive. The second philosophy or the second point that the Jikmir developmental model meet with agile philosophy is that it allows for continuous improvement, which is very vital in agile mindset. So that means you don't plan the whole thing out. You rather plan for a small, manageable future, and then get feedback from the customer. In this case, it would be the grassroots. So the Jikmir development model wants to have many engagement with the locals. So the local could be able to say, hey, this is what is important to us. This is not important to us. And this go to NGOs and developmental partners that are helping South Sudan or helping South Sudanese citizens. What is the best way to make an impact? If you go through the bureaucratic way of doing things right now, there is a chance your initiative may not even reach the local. However, if you are able to start at the bottom, you can easily see what is working, what is not working, and you can maneuver based on those feedback from the grassroots. So continuous improvement is another feature in the Jikmir Developmental Model that align with the Agile mindset or Agile philosophy. Another thing is that when you establish local administration at the Payam Buma level, you have better interaction with the locals. And that interaction, it go back to that giving you that consistent feedback. Versus if you use the traditional bureaucratic way, you may spend a lot of money before you realize that the project is not working. So the Jikmir Developmental Model would respond quickly to changes, or it would allow the NGOs and developmental partners to realize that, hey, this is working, this is not working. And also with Jikmir Developmental Model, it allows for NGOs and developmental partner to escape the bureaucratic inefficiencies. This is not only in South Sudan, this is across the globe. Many organizations are going away from the bureaucratic way of doing things so they could be more responsive to change. So if developmental partners, NGOs are approaching this Jikmir Developmental Model where you start from the bottom and then work your way up, or starting at the local level, then at that point you could easily realize that what I'm doing is effective or is not effective. Right? And with that, the Jikmir Developmental Model, the fact that it is focusing on the grassroots approach rather than, or the top-down approach, no, the bottom-up approach rather than top-down approach, then it allows for a responsive way of doing things. So with that, the Jikmir Developmental Model aligns with the Agile philosophy, which is many organizations, businesses, governments, militaries are going toward this philosophy rather than the historical way of having the central office and then working its way down to the lower management structure. One example of that is General McChrystal in the U.S. military. He pushed for this mindset because he realized that even in the military operations, if you are not being responsive to change, then by the time the mission come down, it's too late. So he was pushing. He published many books about it, including Teams of Teams, where like he allow small teams to develop or to be responsible for a specific mission, and they could be responsive to any changes rather than waiting for a central command to push the mission down to the lower. He realized that is not an agile mindset, and at that current operations or those operations that he was responsible for, he realized that an agile is very important. You can go to even Microsoft. Microsoft is also going toward this or already started on this, and many other organizations. So the more you adopt this mindset, which is focusing on what's important. At this point, at the Jikmir Developmental Model, the most important part of this model is that bottom-up approach rather than top-down approach. And if you are able to do that, you are able to make more interaction with the locals, continuous improvement, and you are able to change rather quickly if the initiative that you're working on is not working. And you could be able to change it or adjust it to where you could be able to make an effective change for your organization. And having that access to the locals allow you to get those feedback rather quickly before you invest so much energy, so much resources into an initiative that may not be producing what is it that you want. And many developmental partners, many NGOs realize that way too late. By the time they realize that their approach is not effective, they've spent millions or even billions for bigger organizations. And while if you adapt a bottom-up approach to aids or to your initiative, then it would allow you to give or it would allow you to get feedback, constant feedback, before you realize you spent so much energy, so much resources on something that may not be valuable to the local. So that's it for Jikmir Developmental Model. Again, this model focuses on the bottom-up approach rather than top-down approach, where historically that has been found to be very ineffective.